So we're live now, so I'll do a little intro and then we'll get to
it. We are the people of Mercury. I am your interplanetary host, Travis Montgomery. These views reflect one planet and one planet alone. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Mercury's Cast. Please go to Mercury's Cast on Facebook and follow on Twitter. Please go to iTunes, Mercury's Cast, and subscribe, rate, and review. We'll send you some cool stuff if you got a good enough review. Alex will send you free candy that has already been unwrapped. And welcome back to the show. My co-host extraordinaire, Alexander. How are you feeling on this lovely Tuesday afternoon?
I'm tired, man. I stayed up all night unwrapping candy, apparently.
Right on.
Am I ever awake for one of these? I feel like I'm just on autopilot every time, but
we're lucky if you slept at all.
I got a little nap.
If you've slept and then you've had a couple, if you haven't slept and you've had a couple beers, then we're in trouble. But anyways, welcome back to the program, Sean Cocca.
Hey. I'm an extraordinaire too.
Yeah.
I'm an extraordinaire at being myself.
It's great to have you back.
I know, technical glitches in the beginning, completely my fault, but yeah, it's been a while. I tried to hop on the 50th episode one, and I totally screwed that up. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, that episode was just screwed up to begin with, but so that's okay. It was just a feeling in the air. It was the energy that was multiplying itself and just would not correct itself. And what we went through with it anyways.
You soldiered on.
I soldiered on.
Yeah.
Anyways, Sean, you have a great podcast that I like to listen to on a weekly basis called The Hourly Struggle. Why don't you tell me who you're doing it with and how the idea got started and all that?
So I got hooked up with a guy who he is a local politico, I guess I want to say, in Orange County, and I had sort of toyed around with the idea of starting a local politics podcast, something that focused on Orange County specifically, and really kind of North Orange County in general. Or I mean, Orange County in general, North Orange County specifically, because I felt like this area wasn't getting a whole lot of. It's tough in this area because you've got LA right next to us, and so LA has the second biggest media market in the entire country, and Orange County occasionally gets some stories. Like we have our own big daily, which is the Orange County Register, but then they cover national stuff, they cover international stuff, they cover all kinds of things, and they do cover Orange County, but we wanted to do something specific and just focus like a laser beam and maybe get some local politicians, maybe some local people, local flavor to it. And so I got hooked up with this guy named Joshua Furguson, who is he ran for Fullerton City Council, and Fullerton is a fairly large city in Orange County. It's kind of central Orange County. And he didn't win, but he got connected to a lot of people. Apparently that's a good way to meet a lot of political people, is run for something. And even if you don't win, everybody knows who you are in that world. And so you're essentially connected even from losing. So that's an unintended benefit of running for office. So he is fairly outspoken, and we met through a mutual friend. I feel like I'm talking about someone that I'm dating, but we met through a mutual friend, and we got together, planned out a podcast, and we kind of came to prominence with our second episode, where we interviewed Josh Newman, who is big news in this area and really in all of California, because he's the subject of a recall, and a very contentious recall. We got the only interview with him, and then we've been
Congratulations, by the way, on that. That's a huge scoop right there.
Yeah, it was mostly because he didn't know who we were, and we sort of guilted him into it because we told him that we were constituents, which we are. We're both in his state Senate district. And we said, you should really give us the interview because we're your people. And he agreed. We sat down with him for about an hour, talked to him. He was really a very nice guy. Really, still is a very nice guy. And we got a lot of pablum out of him regarding his vote for the car and gas tax, regarding his vote for the sanctuary state bill, regarding really just his sort of philosophy on politics in general. And after that, we got a spot on the John and Ken show out of LA. They interviewed us, which is huge. Yeah,
huge for local politics.
Yeah, they interviewed us for 2 whole segments, and we talked about our interview. We talked about what we like learned from him, what we thought about him just from the interview, and then we've moved on from there. We try and stay fairly responsive and receptive to local people. We've got a couple like local politicos that listen to our show, so that's kind of nice. They give us some inside dirt when they have it. Like during our broadcast last night, we live broadcast every Monday around 7:00, and one of the guys in the chat told us about Xavier Becerra's title that he came up with for he's the Secretary of State of California. Is he? Yeah, no, he's the Attorney General. What he came up with for the title of the gas and car tax referendum, the actual one that would repeal the gas tax. Someone told us about that in our chat while we were talking, and that it was essentially a BS title that makes it sound like it's something that it's not. And I just saw today that Travis Allen, who's running for governor, is going to sue over it, or says that he's suing over it because that proposition, that initiative is really his baby. And so he's going to sue over sort of the mischaracterization, because you know that when they name the propositions, they affect how people view them. So if you say, oh, this is the proposition to kill babies and impoverish widows of firefighters, then no one's going to vote for it. And essentially that's what they did. It's like the initiative to what was it? It's something like
the Pollute All the Waterways initiative.
It's something like the initiative to reject the funding for transportation projects or something, which that isn't what it is at all. So, which
if anyone that's used any form of California public transportation, you'll know that it's pretty much only effective in LA sometimes. Everywhere else, it's almost non-existent, or if it exists, I don't know. I'll take that back. San Francisco, it kind of works there, but it's
expensive.
It's so poorly thought out and expensive, and there has been no decrease in cost since they raised the gas tax.
No, and there's we've gotten into since that's the focus of the recall, and that's the focus of a lot of the animosity, specifically in this area, because he is our senator, he's our state senator. Both Josh and myself have really dug into the issue and probably know way too much about that stupid issue than we should. There's it's a lot of nonsense, a whole lot of it, and nothing that they've done, nothing that they've proposed. His lockbox, constitutional amendment, ACA 5, doesn't really do what he says it's going to do. But he didn't even write the thing; his name's just on it. But that's his answer to essentially Sacramento stealing funds, like they have been for the last, 50 years or so. So there's a lot of nonsense going on, and there's a lot of virtue signaling, and there's a lot of
there always is.
Yeah, it's
all right.
It's a load of
into that.
Before we get off of that, I want to clarify things because most of our listeners are in like Guangzhou, China.
The
U.S. dollar is a thing that exists, and presently up here, gas is $3.19 in some areas up here. I don't know what it is down there, but
I've got like $2.59.
gas was just approaching, like going back to the $1 mark here, and then suddenly, right back up. It was terrible.
Yeah, gas by me, I think, is $3.60 or so.
Yeah, we can count on you to be the highest, and me probably to be the lowest.
Yeah, it's. I'm in the metro area, Orange County, LA. It's going to be the most around me, probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm close to the capital.
I always thought you and Josh were like old friends for some reason. You guys got such a good vibe together.
Well, we're fairly similar in at least in terms of philosophy. So we play off each other pretty well. It's I've actually only known him for barely longer than we've been doing the podcast, like maybe a couple months, and it's I don't know. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It's like we've known each other for a long time.
You guys are bros.
Well,
Bros.
And he's very good, by the way. He's like, should have been on a podcast a long time ago.
Well, he had been thinking about doing a podcast for a long time. It just, I had my other podcast. I mean, I still have my other podcast. I do a lot of audio stuff anyway. So I was like, oh, why don't we do it? It's actually a lot easier because since we do it sort of in a live format, there's not a lot of editing that goes into it like I do for my other one.
Right. What a guilty pleasure of mine is that I've never once for this show done any form of editing. Travis does it all. It's great.
Yeah,
the editing can be a bear.
I don't think I could listen to an hour of myself talking.
It's more than an hour because my other show is anywhere between an hour and maybe like an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And minimum, it takes me probably double whatever the length of the episode is. It'll take me double that to edit it.
Takes a while sometimes.
Yeah.
But if I know that there's like no mess ups, anyways, we don't need to go into it.
Yeah.
We go into
baseball.
We're talking about
podcasting, everyone.
We should.
They already have one of those. It's called the Audacity of Podcast.
Oh, Jesus Lord.
Fuck.
It's been around for a long time. I think pre-Obama.
I could do that because I listen to podcasts all day long when I'm at work into my Bluetooth.
I envy that. We are on the topic of podcasting. Podcasting is tech. Well, we got some interesting tech trends going on now, don't we? With Uber Eats and what's Lyft going to call theirs? Who knows?
So how you get your food, whether it is from fast food or grocery store, they have food delivery services, which shouldn't become as a surprise to anyone, but that's what we're going to talk about today. For anyone that doesn't know, you can get groceries now delivered to your home, and it's not even for that much more money. Or some of your favorite fast food chains like Subway, McDonald's will deliver. And on top of that, they just have a service where people will go and get whatever the hell you want to eat. So
yeah, I was thinking
making us more and more lazy.
I might go on Uber right now and see if I can get someone to go pick me up a few chalupas. See how long it takes to get them here.
Well, I mean, that thing is that's been at least in this, maybe not in your guys' area, but in LA, and kind of it's been branching out a little bit around here. But there's that what is it called? It's a delivery thing where certain restaurants. Yeah, Grubhub, and there's another one, DoorDash or something. Where
that's I got a guy that comes into my work a lot that does the DoorDash. He says it's great though. Oh no! Ooh boy!
What happened?
Sorry, something was on fire.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Was it your passion for podcasting?
Yeah, I didn't even notice it. There's the room is a little smoky.
Okay.
Look at you, dinners and there's show all in one.
Apparently, DoorDash is a thing around here. I just remembered there's this guy that comes into my work a lot and always comes in wearing his little uniform that he wears because they get their fancy little red outfits. Look like the old Noid advertisements for Domino's. Yeah, the avoid the Noid guy.
Yeah, I've never actually.
I think he wore blue though.
Let's not forget the oldest food delivery system that we've ever known, which is delivery of pizzas.
Or Chinese
now
food.
it's Chinese food, yeah. Although I can't say I've ever gotten Chinese food delivered.
Maybe that's what they're calling back to. I have, like, once or twice, but not recently, because there's a fantastic place just down the street. I need to figure this stuff out. I feel like it would be really cool if, while we're live, I can have food delivered. I mean, it'd be cool for me because I'd have food. And it'd be cool for, like, the podcast because we would demonstrate that it works. But
so, Sean, let me get your take on it. Is this not like a free market kind of argument? Like, people should be able to do whatever they do, but is this good for people that they don't have to leave their house anymore to go get food?
I mean, overall,
how more lazy can we get?
I don't know if it's laziness as much as we're ever evolving into a convenience society where whether it's shopping or food or, I mean, we were actually talking about this the other day, Kathy and I, where we're talking about potentially doing Blue Apron, which is kind of like food delivery, but it's food delivery,
the same thing.
where you cook it. You get the raw ingredients, and then they give you instructions, and you can cook a meal based on those ingredients. So I feel like more and more that the society is going to go the way of essentially catering to individuals. I mean, think about movies. Movies are great. Like, the movie experience is great until you have that horrible movie experience, and then you never want to go there again. Like that 120-inch screen or 120-foot screen is great, and then the surround sound until you can sort of recreate that at home. And when you're at home, you have all the benefits of not having other people there talking, making noise.
Yeah.
There's sort of that same thing with, like, restaurants. Like, the restaurant idea is great until you have that screaming kid behind you, or, you know, the waiter is rude to you, or like you're seated by the bathroom and it smells like shit. Like, what? Like, you got to figure that people would rather just eat in their own home, which I can understand. I mean, if there wasn't a market for it, there wouldn't be a bunch of food delivery systems, and more coming.
Well, I guess for me personally, I like going out shopping unless it's Christmas. I like going to restaurants, sitting down, or even sitting at a bar and talking to the person next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoy leaving the house. I don't like to be here all day long. I want to go out and do stuff.
Is that a hint that you need me to come down there and get you out of the house? I can't do that. See, that's fine and dandy, though. But my generation increasingly is becoming more and more independent and celibate to a degree.
So
you're finding people getting in relationships less, and going to a restaurant,
deliver your food and chew it for you and shove it down your throat as you swallow it.
Hopefully, because chewing it gets tough. But
I mean, it hurts your jaw and everything.
Looking at it purely from the perspective of why is this becoming a trend, more and more do things at home. Well, a lot of people are either not in relationships, don't want that. You go to a restaurant alone and it goes from being something happy to something a little bit depressing, because you're just sitting there like, yep. They don't make tables for one. That's what the bar's for.
Yeah.
I don't mind sitting at the bar.
Yeah, but a lot of places don't have bars.
Yeah, one of the things too that I've heard said, and I can't remember where I heard this, is that the society, at least in America, society is becoming more and more curated. Like, we want people to do stuff for us. We don't want to have to make decisions about stuff. So we have curated news by the news agencies, by Twitter and by Facebook. They curate the news and they show us what they want us to see. So it takes the decision away from us. It takes that pressure away from us. It might be part of that. Like, you can just get something online and have it sent to you, and you don't have to worry about going to the restaurant and, ordering something. You can just do it from the privacy of your own home, or, like, I'm sure that at some point there's going to be like essentially Spotify playlists for restaurants where you can be like, oh, I like this guy, and I'm going to do whatever I'm going to order whatever he likes.
Well, that's actually a really interesting concept, and I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't publish this episode because that could work. I know you were just saying it just as some sort of absurd, futuristic. That could work. We need to consider that, but it makes sense because if you look at the programs, as you said before, Blue Apron. What's the other one? I think it's HelloFresh. You've got a ton of these. That's what they are. They're meal curation programs.
You're making you're cooking your own food.
Yeah, but the recipes are already made up for you. You're not choosing a recipe to make. I mean, you can choose recipes, but you're choosing from a predetermined list of recipes with a predetermined amount of ingredients and making predetermined meals. It's still curated. It's still, yes, you can add your own accoutrements, but it's still, it doesn't have that organic, what the hell am I going to make for dinner tonight feel to it. And I feel like, I remember a lot, like when I first got out, younger kid, just got out on my own. I thought to myself, what the hell am I going to do? I don't know what I want to make. I don't even know what I want to eat, let alone what I want to make. So I ended up just eating a lot of ramen, and I found a lot of really creative ways to cook ramen. And as that, now I eat fancy ramen.
Fancy ramen. I know there's fancy ramen because we buy it too.
The Korean stuff, like the Shin Ramyun, is voted the best.
Number one
ramen.
I don't know what it is. By fancy ramen, I mean we get the stuff from Sprouts. That's not Maruchan.
Oh well, check out Shin Ramyun. Stuff's spicy though. Careful, Koreans make their noodles spicy.
I like spicy.
So
Spicy.
I do too. But that to me is an amazing step forward. I know it's easy to look at the movie Wall-E and see everyone in their lounging chairs turning into boneless fat blobs of leisure,
human waste.
There are advantages to this sort of thing too. Great advances are being made in accessibility, for people that are maybe not mobile.
Yeah, no, that's good. If you're handicapped or if you have some kind of crippling social anxiety, to be able to sort of kind of interact with the outside world by using a food delivery service, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, well, I also think that they found some 400-pound woman who was using food delivery systems who never really left her chair and died in that chair, and no one found her for a couple of days, and you can just imagine that mess.
Died doing what she loved.
And cleaning her up created jobs, and I think job stimulus is something that's very important. I believe in people's freedom to do whatever they want, which brings us into our next segment, which will be smoking age in California 21. There have been arrests now of people that are over 18 purchasing cigarettes. Now, more importantly than that, there have been people who have been arrested for selling cigarettes to minors who are over the age of 18. And anyone that knows the process for selling tobacco to a minor, if you're caught selling tobacco to a minor, I think it is a lesser charge. Maybe. I know it's still a $3,000 fine, but anyone who's selling tobacco can totally afford a $3,000 fine. But you
get your license yanked too, don't you?
You get your license yanked. You can't ever work with kids ever again. It's almost like a sex offender status. You can't work with children ever. So if I were to sell a 20-year-old a pack of smokes and I got caught doing so, I can't work with kids. I can't work at a daycare, preschool. I don't know why I would want to work around children. I can't work at a high school if I wanted to be a teacher. I can't do that because I sold tobacco to a minor who happened to be of legal age to, drive and pay taxes.
I think 18 is a pretty fair age to start smoking cigarettes if you want to.
Yeah. And just to keep from too many people getting pissed at them, they did leave one exception in the law, and that's that if you've got an active duty military ID, you can still buy them at 18. But that was less so because of the whole, if you can serve, you can smoke. It was more so if you're stationed here from out of state, it really sucks. If you're if you're trying to buy smokes and it's legal in your state. There are 2 states now in the country that have made it illegal to smoke cigarettes under 21, and that's Hawaii and California. I think it's stupid personally. I think once you're 18, you should have the right to drink and smoke. I don't care.
I don't think they should be able to vote.
You turn these, yeah, I don't either. You turn these things into a taboo, and it creates this like culture around them. It's not as stigmatizing as they want to think it is. Like smoking was getting to a point, smoking age is 18. Smoking was getting to a point in which it's no longer viewed remotely positively. People are like, "Ew, you smoke? I don't want to date you." And
except for out here in Bakersfield, people haven't got that memo yet.
I think moving it up to 21, more teenagers are going to smoke just to spite, out of spite.
Now, is that including vaping? Is it the same?
Yes, it is. Yes.
See, I think that's more the effect. I don't see a whole lot of teenagers smoking cigarettes as much as I see them vaping or using like the THC pens or anything like that. I don't. They're going to still use those. They were going to get they've been getting the THC pens before it was legalized. Yeah, but I don't think. I mean, I've seen a couple people smoking, and I agree that the actual smoking of actual cigarettes, has gone down. Maybe people are smoking cigars and pipes a little more because that's something that you do like socially more than cigarettes. But I think it's all about the e-cigs and the vape pens.
I vape.
Down there in the metropolis, in the big cities, that vaping and the pens and stuff like that are going to be more popular than people that are stuck out here in like I don't know, 80s, maybe 80s kind of way of thinking. There's a lot of people that smoke cigarettes here. It's like really surprising. Yeah, it's also a cultural thing. Like, I don't know if anyone. I grew up in Westminster, and I'll tell you, like Vietnamese are more likely to smoke a cigarette. Like I think Asians in general are more likely to smoke a cigarette than any. Well, at least ones that I'm familiar with. So I guess white culture in Bakersfield is cigarette smoking because that's what they do.
It's that extra, for the Asian thing, it's that extra Neanderthal DNA. Makes them more predisposed to nicotine addiction. I don't know if Travis caught that on that discussion. This was like a year or so ago. But a little fun discussion we had about that. But I think what's interesting is legislators have already pissed off a huge number of people that vape by classifying them as a tobacco product. So
I wonder.
So this $2 tax, let's say the $2 cigarette tax, if they try and institute that on vaping, it will legitimately screw them out of voters, because a lot of people that vape are former smokers. They're people like, I'm going to kick this to make a slightly more positive change in my life and not smell like gas. So they change it, and now legislators decide, oh, that's a tobacco product. All of this is a tobacco product. Hey, your batteries that can also be used in flashlights, because they're a standardized battery. They're an 18650. You find them in a lot of things. Tobacco product, $2 cigarette tax. It just seems like it all seems like a money grab to me.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's absolutely a money grab.
It's money grab. grabbing money, masquerading it as some sort of altruistic,
We're protecting you from yourself.
It's a vice tax, and it's a free source of income because they know that people who smoke are going to continue to smoke, or they're going to find alternative means to get their fix, whether it's vaping or smokeless tobacco or whatever it is, and they use that money. I mean, what was the thing I should know this, but in California, they wanted to use the tobacco tax money to do something that had not. It was always supposed to go to like lung cancer research or something having to do with like cigarettes, like. You're doing a bad thing, so we're going to use the money that we make from you doing the bad thing to fund the research and treatment of people who suffer from the diseases that come from the bad thing. But I want to say that it
always ends up in education, or at least that's what they like to masquerade it. Every single thing, every vice I've seen in California, they always go, well, our schools are really hurting, and we can just do, no smoking programs in school and just put this money towards school funding because, California schools need all that school money for the schools. School.
Where did this vice tax thing come from, and why?
It's a puritanical thing. We don't like you doing that. The same reason there's taxes on booze. There's taxes. It's a sin tax. We're trying to legislate your behavior by making the bad behavior that we, quote, as a society have decided is wrong. Oh. We're trying to disincentivize you from doing it financially.
Which brings us to our next topic.
That doesn't even work,
10-cent shopping bags. 10-cent shopping bags. You can no longer sell single-use plastic bags. I think Orange County did this sooner than the rest of it's now statewide, but I think Orange County, I know Santa Barbara pushed it through sooner, but I think
LA did it first. Orange County, at least, maybe there was a city or two that did it. I think maybe Huntington Beach did it, but the county as a whole didn't do it until the statewide initiative went
they call it a tax, right? A tax. Well, you know that it's not a tax, though, right?
It's a purchase.
Stores keep that 10 cents. It's not a tax.
No, I know.
It can't be called a tax, and that money doesn't have to go towards anything environmental related. It goes towards more bags. It goes towards anything they want it to. Anything.
And really, you know what it is? It turns into a convenience tax for the consumer, because I know we have the reusable bags that we take, but I know I've been to the store a couple of times where I'm just picking up a few things and I don't have my bag with me, and I'm like, fuck it, it's only 10 cents. I'm going to do it. So I just buy the stupid bag.
I always forget before I go. And now I have this thing where I don't want to throw these bags away, but I have more than I ever could possibly deal with. I mean, they're nice to take them out.
Dude, I've got an entire cabinet. I've got an entire cabinet of like extra.
I always forget. And sometimes I remember when I'm walking in. Sometimes I remember halfway through, and then most of the time it's like when I'm walking up to the register, I'm like, God, I just forgot. I forgot again. And I do the same thing. Would you like to buy bags? Yeah, I forgot again, and now I'm just going to have more than I know what to do with.
You know what I do?
A place where you can turn them in or something, because I feel bad throwing them away now. Because it's the environment and shit.
Well, no. Now they've made the bags even worse because they're thicker, more robust, harder to. Like, eventually, plastic bags will disintegrate. They will fall apart. They will shred. They will tear. They will turn into, diatoms. But the new bags are like 6 times as thick, yet they still break. I've had to double the new bags.
Yeah, you know what's funny? When you buy vegetables at any grocery store, you still get the plastic bag, and they don't charge you for that one. The little plastic thing for the celery or the carrots
bags, the little convenience bags.
I mean, plastic is the problem. That is what is making its way to the ocean. That transparent plastic island that's floating out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's pretty much just made up of like plastic particles. I mean, it's a problem, and stuff doesn't go away for a long time. It's not like a banana peel where it's gone in a week in the dirt. I mean, that stuff sticks around for a long time. I think plastic is kind of the problem here. And
Well, they're charging for the paper bags too.
Yeah, they charge for anything. So it's like I don't know what they're trying to. They
want money.
Yeah, the argument that was made when the plastic bag ban went into effect was that, or when they were arguing for it, was that there was like the plastic bags made up the like some ridiculous percentage, like 40% of all the garbage everywhere, and that people were essentially just throwing them away in the street, I guess. I mean, I always reused our plastic bags 2, 3, 4 times. They were trash liners. They were for the kitty litter. They were anything. They were for my lunches.
dog poop for me.
Okay, so PolitiFact.
You're throwing it in the. It's going to end up in a landfill somewhere. Which, I mean, I don't know how.
We're all
going to run out of landfills eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are eventually. I mean, we'll make new ones, but eventually the whole country will be a landfill. Either way, though, we all know PolitiFact is a fairly left-leaning, website. They've got their.
I'm kind of down with PolitiFact.
I've always noticed that they've got a left-leaning skew. Either way, in their article on the plastic bag ban, apparently San Jose went back to 2012 to they banned them way back. Mm-hmm. They said that they reduced their official numbers were that they reduced by not having plastic bags, they reduced 89% of their plastic bag litter in San Jose's storm drain system, and 60% reduction in cities, creeks, rivers, streets, and neighborhoods. Now, after the fact, they released that 89% litter reduction was later determined to be miscalculated. The correct estimate is 62%. So they cut it in half over a course of years.
Plastic. We didn't really know what we were doing when we made it, but we kind of backed ourselves into a corner of convenience with what it's able to do for us and the amount of convenience that it provides. There's got to be another way. Like at Costco, you can get those big cotton bags. Mm-hmm. They're reusable. I think that's the way to go, really. Get like a big, huge bag like this big and figure out how to, or a couple huge bags, for your 7 people, family or whatever. You got to go to Costco. But the Costco sells those bags that are really good. And that's what they wanted people to have, because I go to the Walmart store and I'm not proud of it. I don't buy the Good Value brand. At least I try and stay away from it. I feel like they have a monopoly on everything, including they're trying to take over the Honey Nut Cheerios market, which is highly offensive to me. You know what I'm talking about, the Good Value brand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The store brand.
It's ridiculous. It's like they try and just get you a little 5 cents here, a little 7 cents here. I'm like, no, you don't, bitch. I'm going to pay a little bit more for that smaller company, which is
what they've I know a lot of the reusable bags that they launched in the market are made from recycled plastics, although plastic recycling tends to be hit or miss, we'll say. There are some bacteria that can degrade plastics, but that's potentially bad. In some senses, there's a lot of infrastructure that relies on plastics. So if that sort of thing got into the wrong hands, it could go from a good environmental benefit to setting us back on infrastructure for quite a ways.
Yeah, part of the whole argument for the ban that I wasn't sure about, and I would rather have seen numbers, because I saw a lot of percentages and not actual numbers. Because, like you were saying, the San Jose reduced their plastic bag refuse 89% over a course of years. Like, how much was that? Was there 10 bags and now there's 1? Was there 100 bags and now there's 20? You know, like how I want to see actual numbers, because percentages is a way to hide the actual number of things.
Yeah. They're skewing data to make it, more appealing to the people they're trying to convince that what they're doing is right.
Mm-hmm.
I could say, we've had a 50% reduction in plastic bags. Oh, so there were 2 bags, now there's 1.
Yeah,
that's not a big difference.
That happens a lot with like crime statistics. Like if you're in a nice neighborhood and you say you are a nice city and say your city only has 2 homicides a year, but this year they had 4, you'd be like, homicides are up 200% over last year's. It skews either way. Either the percentages don't tell the real story in a lot of things. And I know, because in the industry I work in, you use percentages to hide the actual numbers. You use percentages to convey a message rather than to actually present data. It's a PR thing. Percentages are PR.
So where does that leave us? All of this episode has had a few things in common, whether it's conveniences or inconvenient truths. I
love that.
Pretty good. That was pretty good.
But
you want to have one now, Sean?
You see a trend here where, whether it's people like Travis who are absolutely convinced that food delivery is going to do something bad, so he questions. His first question is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? He doesn't consider, does it matter to you?
No.
Is it your business? If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
It's not my business, and
it's your choice.
Really matter, but I still got a question.
Smoking age. Smoking age. Fuck, for all I care, let 16-year-olds smoke. I don't care. Whoever wants to smoke can smoke. If you remove the stigma or the taboo about it, you make it less appealing to those that enjoy taboos.
Yeah, in a lot of countries where they legalize drugs completely, like Ecuador and Holland, and there's a couple off the top, and I can't think, but the stigma attached to people that do like hard drugs is like they're freaking junkies. It's not glamorized in Hollywood. It is glamorized in Hollywood.
There's a societal stigma, but it's not a legal taboo, and it's not something that's considered alternative or cool because it's illegal. There's no thrill to it.
Right.
Look at Amsterdam. People that use there, if they use responsibly.
For the most part.
Most of them.
Most. But those that don't aren't going to either skirt by or live off the taxpayer's dollar in a prison. But
the general consensus is that when you see a junkie or something of that sense, I guess it's the same, but or you see one of your friends doing heroin, it's like that dude is not cool. That dude has fucking drug problem.
I wonder how it would actually work out in the US if tomorrow everything was legal.
Oh, it'd be chaos at first, I think, for sure.
But I think the chaos might be worse than I think the chaos has the potential to be worse than the prohibition. Can you imagine if tomorrow we had 50 million ODs in the country? Like that would be catastrophic.
Can you imagine our unemployment numbers after that? Dude, we wouldn't have any need for workers. Everyone would have a place in society.
It'd be welfare for everyone. Everyone could have health care, which brings us to our next.
No, This is, I think that this would probably demonize me the most here, but at the very least, it would kill a good portion of the weak in society.
Whoa.
It'd be a Darwinian thing, and that kind of hurts to say because
But no, I mean, maybe
people's
not.
Lives.
Not necessarily, because you could OD on heroin your first time doing it because you don't know how much.
Yeah, but
do
you know that heroin is not healthy?
Yeah, but most drugs are not healthy.
Why do it? Why do it?
Most drugs are not healthy, but people still do things.
I know better. I know better. I know better than to do it even once because it is such a horrible, horrible drug.
Actually, more people are ODing on fentanyl right now than anything else, and ODs are up at an alarming rate right now in certain cities.
I mean, people do dangerous things all the time just to do them. I mean, people climb mountains, people jump out of planes, people go swimming with sharks. I don't see much difference between someone wanting to feel the rush of adrenaline by jumping something on a skateboard
or surfing a big wave.
Surfing one of those giant 50-foot waves that literally
when they
could kill
do
them.
that. When they do that, there's the thrill in the moment, but they don't end up shitting themselves for weeks afterwards, shaking and shivering from withdrawals. Whereas people know that heroin withdrawals are hell.
But they could wind up, like, say your parachute doesn't open, they could wind up shitting themselves because now they're paralyzed from the waist down because their parachute didn't open.
But that's not a guarantee.
Well, neither is ODing on drugs. It's the same argument.
I'm not saying ODing is the worst case scenario. I'm saying best case scenario. Best case scenario, you end up shitting yourself, shaking and shivering and wanting more. That's the best case scenario.
Not if you do it once or twice
or 3 times. I'm only going to do it for this week. Actually, a month.
I'm a recreational heroin user.
Recreational. Well, I only use it socially.
I did it one time with somebody when we were at a studio when we were jamming out, and I only did it one time.
That's stupid. Don't do that.
Do you remember?
It was actually a good time. I'm not going to lie about it.
You didn't smoke that shit like a pussy. You mainlined it.
Well, I've never done it, so I don't know. But I mean, I know people go crazy for it.
I ended up throwing up later that night, but not when I did it, which was weird.
I think that's another universal thing.
But Oxycontin is pretty much fucking heroin, and the drug companies are prescribing it. It's actually and fentanyl's stronger than heroin.
Well, they're all opiates, and that's why people, because it's almost easier to get heroin.
The difference is they usually, like when you're taking those drugs within the prescribed. Usually, when it's not for fast acting, but for a chronic thing, you're not mainlining it. You're ingesting it. You're taking it the slowest possible metabolic route it can take, so that it's long lasting, but has less effect.
I don't know, but with fentanyl, with something that's strong, and there's been plenty of cases where there's other drugs involved mixed on the same table, and they get thrown in there too, and there's trace amounts of other shit coming up. I mean, it's not the perfect science as you probably think it is.
No, what I'm saying is, with these drugs, when they're in a medical environment, say you deregulate this shit, say you make it legal, you're going to see a lot more prescription versions of, the free market will find its niche.
I don't know if you're going to be finding reputable people hawking like cocaine and heroin I do not think so at all. You think a doctor is going to prescribe anybody heroin? No way. Not unless we get in a time machine and go 150 miles.
Do you know the roots of heroin and cocaine in this country?
Yes, they used to give it to babies.
Doctors.
No, I know. That's what I said.
They used to give it to fucking babies.
I said not.
You wouldn't need to. You wouldn't need to go to a doctor.
Unless you go back in time.
You wouldn't need to go to a doctor.
Yeah, you gotta wait for him to finish his sentence. He said, unless we go back in time 100 years.
You don't need to go to a doctor though. And I'm saying you'd see pharmacies, not doctors.
I doubt it. I doubt it so much.
Why do you need a prescription if it's legal?
Lots of stuff is legal, and you still need a prescription for it.
No, it's not. It's not legal for me to have Oxycontin. It's not legal for me to have
If you have a prescription, it is.
If I do, but I'm saying these things are now legal. I can go to a drugstore and pick it up like Advil.
That would be horrendous.
I don't think so.
I could see.
I don't think so. I think immediately. I think the immediate effect would be bad, but the long term it would become normalized.
No, maybe not something like heroin that you have to mainline, but like something like Oxy that you could just pick up and take home, and that is so addictive. And how many people are?
Well, why would they go for that when you've got legal cocaine?
Why would they go for any of it? Like there's no like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Cocaine actually has very valid market uses today as an alternative to Ritalin, as an alternative to all these horrible focus drugs that are just a chemically altered version of the same damn thing.
You're making it sound like cocaine is good. Cocaine is not good.
I'm not making it seem like it's good. I'm making it seem like it's a better, cleaner alternative than to some of the drugs they prescribe. It's got better side effects than some of the drugs they prescribe. If taken orally, it would be a better alternative for some people who are on like these ADHD medications.
Well, without it being prescribed, though, then you're essentially asking people to figure it out for themselves, which one works best for them. And that's how you wind up with people ODing.
Well, now it's like you're trying to legislate morality.
I'm not trying to legislate morality. I'm trying to keep people from killing themselves by accident.
That's morals. I believe in McNukes, bud.
Yeah, it could be uninformed kind of decisions too.
I'm a fan of McNukes. Everyone should have their own nukes.
The benefit of having a
consumer grade nukes.
The benefit of having a doctor and a pharmacist is they'd be able to tell you, okay, you weigh this much, you have these kind of allergies, you should probably take this thing because this one will kill you. Without that person, then you're just going to be like, oh, well, this one will probably help me. And then boom.
WebMD doesn't exist. WebMD doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. WebMD.
It's like Grubhub. It's Grubhub for people who want to see if drugs have interactions.
Yeah, but you're asking.
You're telling me you've never Googled drug interactions in your life.
Yeah, but
I've never Googled if anything interacts.
I've Googled it, but you're telling me
you don't think society and the information society, not the band, but the information society we live in, where people are becoming gradually more and more independent and less reliant on the education system, less reliant on all of these standards, these institutional standards that had been set in society prior to the internet. You don't think the internet era is just a little bit more informed and a little bit more capable of seeking out knowledge, that I don't have to dig through medical journals anymore if I want to find something out. I can do a quick Google search. If I want to, find out what the hell an oarfish is, I don't have to dig through the World Book encyclopedias and hope it's in there. I can just Google it. Well, where society is progressing in a different way, and I think that we could reach a point in society in which people would be educated enough on their own to where a doctor was less of a necessity and more of a luxury when it comes to prescriptions for psychiatric things.
I'm with Sean. Is that you can't give people these volatile substances and expect them to be totally like ethical with them, and especially with their own body and the health, and getting caught up in these different type of drugs, especially if they're legal. You can't just expect everyone to follow a certain protocol.
So how does Amsterdam pull it off?
In Amsterdam, every single thing is legal.
Oh, you can do heroin. You can do cocaine. You can do weed, heroin, cocaine, opiate painkillers. You can do whatever you want.
Well, maybe that works for Amsterdam, but I don't think. I mean, it's a different country, different culture, different population demographics. You can't take what works for one country that is in Central Europe and say, okay, that's going to work everywhere.
No, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it gives credence to the idea that it could work.
Amsterdam doesn't even have 1 million people.
I'm just saying, you guys are both throwing out a lot of, well, this will happen, a lot of speculation, which is
you're throwing out just as much speculation.
Well, no, but I'm throwing out where is your proof that if left unregulated, it would just be chaos, disaster, hellish? Where is it unregulated right now, where people are just dying left and right because it's unregulated?
Sorry, 1.1 million.
It's very heavily
300 times that.
It's very heavily regulated in my hometown, but right now they've set a huge record. They're having to bring in trailers, refrigerated trailers for all the bodies because the morgues don't have enough room for them. The sheriff, the chief deputy of the sheriff's department there is saying, we're not carrying these drugs. We can't afford it. We're already $50,000 over budget on Narcan. The fucking city government's considering putting in a 3 strikes thing where you OD once, we come out and give you Narcan. You OD the second time, we come out and give you Narcan. Now you have to work community service to pay off that Narcan. We come out a third time and you didn't work community service, we're hanging up.
Yeah, they're done. I heard that too.
Done. That's my hometown.
But I think you're kind of making our argument for us.
I'm well aware of what heroin can do, but I'm making an argument that it is heavily regulated there. It is so heavily regulated. You cannot go to a pharmacy. Fuck, I needed a prescription and I couldn't get it because people abuse drugs so much there. They're like, we're not going to give you a prescription for anything strong. You're probably just faking it so you can, sell it on the streets. It's so bad there and it's so regulated there, but it's still a problem. Whereas I'm pointing out an example where it is deregulated, where people can shoot up in a safe environment if they want to.
Yeah,
I'm pointing, but neither of you are giving an example of a place where it is deregulated and it is a clusterfuck and it's chaotic. My point is that I've got, maybe it's not the most solid example, but I've got an example of my proposal of deregulation working, whereas neither of you have an example of a deregulated place not
I think
working.
I would actually be in favor of deregulation, but in America, it seems like a slippery slope with 350 million people.
Well, that's why there's 50 individual states. That's why the 50 states aren't really one country, but 50 countries united. One state can try something that another state says no to. Each state has different demographics. I think in my home state, it should be tried because people are fucking dying left and right.
Fuck it. Let California be the litmus test, and we'll see how
California is always the litmus test. And then 10 years later, it makes its way to Ohio.
So we're on that track. If you want to be optimistic about deregulation,
I'm not so naive as to think that it wouldn't present its own.
Here's the reason why it would never happen. It's because we have a for-profit prison system in place in our country.
Well, that's why I think it won't happen, and that's why I think That's why I think it's naive of you guys to think that it couldn't work. Is because the only reason it can't work right now is because of a for-profit prison system. They profit way too much off junkies. Most people who become junkies in this country become junkies behind bars.
A lot of them, yes. And as for an example, I'll give you one good one. My buddy Chris learned to do some stuff in prison that he didn't not know how to do when I knew him before he went to prison. And that's all I'll say about that.
It's easy to hate on my ideologies because my ideologies exemplify individual choice and individual reasoning, individual responsibility. If you fail on your own, and you fail because it's your fault you failed.
No, if you fail there are tons of unintended societal consequences of stuff. Like, I'm not a guy that is like trying to regulate people that to not do stuff, but you cannot with a straight face say that just letting people do whatever drugs they want has no effect societally.
It might have a positive effect.
Highly doubt it.
Once again, Ohio heavily regulated. Amsterdam deregulated.
I looked up Amsterdam. It's not deregulated. Soft drugs deregulated. Hard drugs still illegal.
1 second. You're missing something on the hard drugs. Do they not have centers where people can go and shoot up?
Yeah, but that's not like
supervised shooting up though.
Yeah, that's more to deal with a drug problem, not like, hey, I want to go get some freaking cocaine and do it. It's more like I'm a junkie, I'm part of some program, and I'm going to. It's essentially like.
I don't think people just wake up and go, I'm going to start a drug problem today. It's that belief that is almost it's a little bit interesting to me is how many people think this is huge among commies. Actually, this is what's always funny about communists is they always say we can't have individual liberties because people are evil. People are evil, and people will destroy everything. People will be evil people, and we can't trust them. So we need a society where everything is fair. And then you say to them, well, what happens if someone abuses that society? No one will abuse the utopia. No one will abuse the perfect society. Why would you? It's perfect. But you just said that we can't have individual liberties because we're all evil. An evil society is just as evil as an evil individual. The difference is one has power over everyone and the other has power over themselves.
There's got to be limitations still.
Why is suicide illegal in this country?
Because it doesn't affect just you.
Okay, but what?
Euthanasia, you could argue. Suicide, probably not.
Why is euthanasia illegal in this country? Why is assisted suicide illegal in 58 states?
Euthanasia, you mean like the
58 states?
The child sex
48 states. I pulled an Obama there. I pulled an Obama circa 2008. Sorry. I've traveled to 58 out of 49 states. Fucking Obama. Love him. Thanks, Obama. No, 48 states, I believe. I think Washington and another state have allowed it. I know Washington for sure. But assisted suicide is only legal in one state. Everywhere else, it's illegal entirely. Why?
Where do I have to go again?
Washington. I think you need a terminal illness, though.
Oh, God damn it.
I thought it was Oregon.
That's all right. Start smoking. Is it Oregon? I thought it was Washington.
It's one of those two. I've heard something.
Oh, maybe it's Washington. I can't remember. It's somewhere up there. But you know why? Probably it's because the
Up there, it made a huge turnaround in this election. There are a few more states where it's become allowed. Huh. I think California might even, heyo, there's a solution for me after all.
It probably has more to do with the religious background of most state laws and federal laws that see, most Christians see suicide as being wrong and immoral. So it was codified years and years and years ago.
Did you grow up in a Christian household?
I went to Catholic school for 12 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up in a very Christian household as well.
So we're going to have to bring you back on maybe in a couple weeks to talk about SB.
This would be I'd like to bring you back on because I feel like this would be a fun debate if we're both informed prior.
No, I think it's taken on a life of its own. And it's cool, but I want to get to the California stuff with Sean at some point in the future.
Well, I want to get to this debate with Sean at some point too. One.
That's what I'm saying is that I want to have him on again in the next couple of weeks or something, so we can get the fees out of the way.
At the beginning of the show, you mentioned that it was your co-host that ran for public office. Yeah, public office. See, I was considering running for public office here as a wild card. Throw people off.
It's difficult because right now he's actually running for Josh Newman's seat as essentially a wild card. He's no party preference. There's already been one person who declared for the Republican side. Obviously, nobody from the Democrat side is going to declare until he's officially recalled. I mean, I don't even think that they would run anybody, because in all likelihood, the recall election would be both on the same ballot. It'd be, do you want to recall Josh Newman? Yes or no? And if so,
about Josh Newman.
Well, I was thinking of doing it. I was thinking of doing it the Vermin Supreme way. Just apply for whatever I can apply for. Look at a list of credentials that I can fill. Of this is the requirement to run for this office, and apply for it. Put in, pay the fee at the registrar.
You know what the fee that sucks, and what actually stopped my co-host from I mean, he ran for city council, but he didn't do all the normal things. You know, when you get that voter guide and it has the little blurb from the candidate, I think that blurb is paid for, I think, by the word, and I think it's $5,000 for a candidate statement. So he didn't do one because he didn't have $5,000. And that's how they get a lot of the independent people out, because you have to, the filing fee is like nothing to run, but then all the other stuff, if you want to make signs, that's money. If you want to rent out a room to hold a town hall to actually talk to people, that's money. If you want to get a ballot statement, that's $5,000. At least it is around here. So when you run from
that's crazy, because that fee is actually higher than what it takes to register to run as president.
No, I know the filing fees are negligible. Filing fees are
I think what, $2,000, $1,000, $2,000.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting, but
including
I just
the campaign finances. But
it's just something I want to fool around with, because as callous as it seems, it'd be fun to push for all of these interesting things, and at the very least get people thinking. I don't think there's enough controversy in local office. Most of the time people pass over it. They don't even vote when they have the chance to. Public office on a local level and on a state level is arguably the most important public office there is. Mm-hmm. And people ignore it because it's not as exciting as a shit-slinging presidential race. And I know we're getting really political here, but
that was actually one of my questions for Sean.
I do want to point out to any listeners that if you vote local and you vote state, you're making a much bigger difference in your own life than you ever will by voting for a president.
Yeah, remember that the last and people don't vote local, and that's the problem. The last LA LA City municipal election for city council, I think it was a runoff election. It was an off year, 2017, and it was, I want to say, in like May. They had like 12% turnout. So 12% of the voters. It was like a couple thousand people went out and voted in a city of 10 million.
It's ridiculous. And these are the people that are making decisions on most of what happens to your money that you get from your job.
Most of these people were voted in
your
by
business
their own
taxes
people.
And your property taxes and your fucking food and supermarket and vice taxes. I mean, this is where all this shit goes down, and people don't care. And my question is, maybe Sean can clear it up a little bit, is why are people, and we didn't want to say his name, but why are people so more focused on fucking Trump and not so more focused on local politics to where they could actually improve their own lives? Because
local politics isn't sexy. Local politics, for the most part, is largely nonpartisan. Like, people will have a party, but whether you're a Republican or Democrat doesn't matter as much when you're talking about city council or like school board compared to running for Senate or running for Congress or running for president. And Trump is a super polarizing figure, and he's in the news every single day. So people, everyone has an opinion of Trump, and they want to talk about him because the stories about him are exciting and frightening and scary and all kinds of stuff. And you can't say the same because he's in the news every single day with some major story. What are you going to talk about in
major story?
Well, yeah, major story. Something that the news is covering. The local politics is not sexy. Local politics is like water prices and property taxes.
Yeah, only shit that affects people every day.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is it's the same reason that local journalism is not sexy but it's usually the most important because you have the stuff that really affects people, and you can really get bogged down and get lost in local politics. There's easy ways to hide things because nobody's paying attention to it. But yeah, they affect your water rates, they affect your energy prices, they affect like streets. There's Southern California Edison is putting, I guess they're putting just down the street from us right now, they're putting the power lines underground, and it's I want to say like a half-mile stretch, and it's going to take 5.5 months to do that.
I just saw the sign, right? Is that Caltrans?
No, it's on Brea Boulevard, right near where I live. It starts July 17th, and it says the construction will go from July 17th to December 31st. And it's a half mile.
Man, I could. Me and a couple guys could bang that shit out in a couple weeks.
Yeah. And it's right, and the problem is it's right by the only public junior high school in the area. It's right by Brea Junior High School, and that's going to screw up all the people that like drop their kids off because it's going to be all construction up and down the street. Plus anybody that lives in that area.
Yeah, who cares about them though? They chose the wrong street to live on.
Apparently, yeah, but that's the thing is that city and county policies are the ones that affect people the most on a day-to-day basis, but they don't care about them because they're not sexy. They're not exciting. They're not things that are fun to talk about. It's more fun to talk about, well, Jared Kushner and Donald Trump Jr. and Russia. It's more fun and exciting, and you can have conversations with people about that because it's in the news all the time and everyone has an opinion. But you talk about the city no bidding contracts to some construction firm, and you're going to be met with blank stares because nobody knows anything about that and nobody cares.
I've actually got a discussion for you after the show, so I'll send you a little message in the thingy. I just wanted more editing for. I wanted more.
We're about out of time here.
Yeah, I got to get some food in me. Getting a hunger headache.
You're getting hangry. I can tell.
Hangry.
I am.
Alex, you got him a little worked up there. I like that.
No, it was funny.
Yeah. No,
do you want to do the outro?
Yeah, I'll do the outro. Sean, it was great having you back on. Maybe we'll have more recent. I mean, the stuff that I wanted to talk to you about, like the SB52 and the recall and stuff like that. Nothing's all. It was just ideas at this point, right? So maybe once everything's finalized, you can come back on. We can talk more about it. Absolutely. Frick yeah. And Alexander, ruffling feathers as always. My man.
Always glad to. Man.
Stay black, homie. And this has been Mercury's Cast. I am your host, at least for this episode, Travis Montgomery.
You stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy, San Diego, and free cake stand.
How do you like it? 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 Whether you like